Alright people, so here we go. So you asked for a video, so I'm going to make you one. In this quick tutorial, I'm going to show you how to take images and turn them into brushes. Also known as, also you can kind of think of them as like stamps basically. Alright, so what we're going to do, I stole a couple images from you people in class, and so I'm going to drag them into the Photoshop. Here we go. So this is one of the ones that we made in class. So what the first thing I'm going to do is I brought it in. I'm actually going to double click on my background, so that way it's going to be a functional item, so I can actually interact with it. I'm going to go to this thing called channels. So if you look down here in right next to your layers is a little tab called channels. I'm going to click on that, and it's broken down into the different colors that we have. So we have red, green, blue. Okay, so what you're trying to do, you're trying to find the one that has the highest contrast. Okay, so you can look on the red, that one clearly has the highest contrast compared to the other two. Okay, so I'm going to copy this one. So I'm going to click on it. I'm going to drag it down to the little piece of paper that is cornered up. So let that go right there. So now I have a copy of it. Okay. The next step is I'm going to hit Command L. So Command L. So what that does, it's going to bring up my levels. So when I'm looking at this, what I want to do is I want to adjust my levels so I have darker darks and lighter lights, or whiter whites. Okay, so I'm going to bring this in. I still want to be able to see this kind of streak in the middle, and depending on what your brush you're trying to make, you're going to, figure out what works best for you. But I do kind of want to, these grays are going to be kind of nice because it's going to be a little transparent in there. Okay. The other reason why we do this is because it kind of helps Photoshop figure out how to make the selection. So I'm going to keep, and I can also do this little adjustment with the little gray bar too. So let's see. So I'm pretty good there. Let's bring it down a little bit more, so we get a little bit more of that gray in there. So that's pretty good. Okay, so I'm going to hit OK. All right, so now that's set. The next thing I want to do is I'm going to hold down Command, and I'm going to click on that red copy, the one that I just made the adjustments on. All right, so now you can see what it did is made a selection of the stuff I just was working on. Okay, sometimes we're going to call these like marching ants. So these little moving, dashing lines, we're going to call them marching ants. Okay, that's just what people call them for some. All right, so then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go into our layers, go back to our layers just by clicking on the layers. Okay, I'm going to click on my layer. All right, so now it's back to the color. And I'm going to make a mask. One of the things that's a little bit different, I know normally we just click on that little circle inside the square. This time we're actually going to hold down Alt and click on it. And what that does, it actually makes a mask of the opposite of what was selected. Remember, because before we had all the blue stuff that was selected. By holding down Alt and clicking on the mask, it actually does the opposite. So now you can see this is what we have selected. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to hold down Option or the Alt button again, and I'm going to click on my mask. So what that does, it actually pulls up all of like what our mask actually looks like. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I only want this white mark in the center. Okay, so what I'm going to do, remember, what's white is visible and what's black is invisible. So what we can do to fix this, I'm going to go up to my brushes. I'm going to click on a brush. I'm going to go up here. I'm going to switch it to a hard brush that's relatively big. And I'm just going to paint over the stuff I don't want. Oops, so I'm going to bring my opacity up. Okay, so I'm going to paint over the stuff that I don't want, because all I really want, like I said, is this guy right here, or girl, I don't know. It's gender neutral. All right, so I'm going to go over here, get rid of that stuff, because I don't need it. That's not important to me. The only part I want is just this. Okay, so I'm going to click on, go back. Okay, so now you can see that that's what I have. From here, what we need to do is we're actually going to take this layer and we're going to bring it, make a new, a totally new document. So I'm going to hit Command N, and that brings up this menu. You can see I've already been kind of working with it. What I'm going to do is I want you to set it to 500 width, 500 height, and then 350 pixels per inch. Okay, so that should get us the proper resolution and the proper size to make this pretty functional for us. So I'm going to click OK. And you can see it brings us to this nice little white square. I'm going to go back to the image that we were just working with. I'm going to click on my Move tool or Selection tool. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to click and I'm going to drag it up to the new tab. I'm going to let it go in here, because you can see it's way too big. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to zoom out just by hitting Command 0. You can see it pulls that back. I'm going to shrink this down. Remember, one of the ways to keep it the same proportion so it doesn't get all wonky is if I hold down Shift when I move it around or resize it. So I'm going to pull it in there. That's pretty good. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with that. Okay, hit Enter. Now that we have the new size. And one of the things I just noticed too is that now if we look down at our little mask down here, you can see because my image was actually a little bit smaller, or it doesn't, long story short, you can see it has white around it now. So we actually need to go in and fix that. So remember, I hold down Option or Alt and I click on it, and so now I can actually see that there's still a bunch of white around there. So what do I need to do? I need to pull up my black paintbrush once again and fill that stuff in. Right, because remember, all I want to be visible is just this. Alright, so I'm going to get out of here again, go back here. Okay, our next step is I want to make sure that I'm on my actual image, right? So I clicked off of my mask, I clicked onto my image. And what we need to do is we actually need to turn this black. Okay, otherwise it won't really recognize it as a brush. So I need to go into my foreground, right? So with this red one, so I'm going to double click on it, or you can just click on this black and white little guy here. Okay, and this is something I knew let's just learn today. Pretty exciting, at least for me, because I'm a nerd. So if I hold down, so you wrote it down, Alt and Delete, what that does, it actually just fills it all in black. So you can see down in the little corner down here, it filled everything in black, and because there's a mask over it, we see it as black now. I know, kind of exciting-ish. So I'm going to go up here. Oh, which you can't see because it's outside my frame. That's super annoying. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to Edit, Define Brush Preset, and let go. So then it brings up this new little box here. So I'm going to name it Paint, I don't know, what should we call it? Stroke. And I'm going to hit OK. So now you can see it has this weird little shape, and that's actually my new brush. We just made a brush. Congratulations! If you did it right, you now have a brush. And if you didn't do it right, you probably have your hand up and saying, Nelson! Alright, so let's check it out. Let's see what happens. If I paint, I'm going to make it on a new layer. Look at that. Boom. We can actually change the color of that now. Oh my gosh, so exciting. Let's switch it to red. Boom. Look at that. Pretty exciting. All right. So I'm going to do it one more time for you folks that may have missed it. And this time, instead of doing it with a brush, I'm going to do it with something totally different. All right. Through television magic, we're ready to go again. All right, so this picture is something, if you've ever been to Orlando, this is from Harry Potter's Diagon Alley. This is a giant fire-breathing dragon on top of Gringotts Banks. Really exciting, okay? So for this, all I really need is my little fireball here. So just to kind of save some time, I'm going to actually crop it down just to that space to make my life a little bit easier in the long run. So I don't have to delete as much stuff. So I'm going to go in, I'm going to hit enter. I'm actually going to zoom back in. Cool, there we go. As you can see, it's a little pixelated because we're in so close. You know, we'll make it work. All right. I'm going to double click down here to make it so my image is editable. All right, so remember step one, I go to channels. I go check out my channels to see which one actually works the best. I know for me, because I've already done this once, I'm going to actually go to green this time. Even though the red is a higher contrast, I'm going to go to green because I actually like this little fiery ball part in the middle, and it's going to look a little bit better. Like I said, I already did it, so I already know. So you have to use your, your best judgment on these things. All right, so I'm going to make a copy of that. Boom. All right. I'm going to hit Command L because that brings up my levels. I still want to do that and make the stuff darker. I'm going to bring these in. I'm going to probably bring this way over here. Remember, because all I really want to see is that fireball. I mean, it's okay if there is some stuff in there. That just means that I'm going to have to delete a little bit more later. So that's pretty good. It looks like I have got rid of most of the stuff around it. I'm going to hit OK. All right, so there's my fireball. I'm going to hit, now that I have it, I'm pretty happy with it. I'm going to hold down Alt, and I'm going to click on my green copy. Oop, I lied. I'm going to hold down Command, and I'm going to click on my green copy. You can see it pulls up that marching ants again. It may not look like it's actually selected everything, but trust me, that stuff is selected. It's just kind of a little bit more or less opaque. So I'm going to go back to my layers. Okay, I'm going to hold down Control, because remember, if I hold down Control, it's actually going to give me the opposite of a mask of what's currently selected. So I'm going to hold that down. I'm going to click on Mask Layer. All right, and there it is. Then, as you can see, that's just my fireball there. And like I said, that part is kind of muted, which is nice, and you'll see that in a little bit. Next, we have to go into our mask. So I'm going to hold down Option, or Alt, click on that. So now I can actually see and clean up and adjust my image here. Cool, once again, TV magic, and it's all gone. So the next thing that I need to do is go back to here. All right, I'm going to go up to, I already made a new file. It's the same size, exactly how we did before, 500 by 500 with 350 pixels per inch. Cool, great. Go to my little selection tool, drag it up to that new file, and let go. All right, and it already fits. Great, that's perfect. All right, so the next thing we do is, remember, I'm going to hit Alt and delete. So what that did is it filled in down here, right? It filled it in black. So now all we have to do is go up to Edit, define brush preset. I'm going to label it Fireball. Great, cool. So it should be pretty much done. All right, so now we got to test it. So I'm going to make this invisible. I'm just going to fill this in black real quick, and then we can test it with a yellow. All right, let's go to our brushes. Brush. Go up here. Let's select our brush. Look, Fireball. Great. I'm going to make it yellow so we can actually see it. Okay. Oh, I lied. Why is it not working? Yellow. Okay. Boom. There's our Fireball. Right? Pretty cool. right? And we can actually paint a little bit more on top of it.